Conrad, as nice it is to see you on this Zoom call, it was so nice to see you in Chicago at Tech Show.
I have been in a little bubble for so long. It was really nice to get out. I even enjoyed the hotel. I hate hotels. I hate flying. Back at it, and it was great to see you. I've said this at Tech Show. I will say this again. I will say this repeatedly. That was the best Tech Show. I've been to 8. Well done. You deserve the plaudits. And I know you'll humbly deflect to the people you worked with, and I appreciate that, but well played, dude.
Well, thank you, and thank you again to the planning board, to my co-chair who did all the work, and all of our faculty. Really, the feedback's been very positive, and just grateful to be a part of it. And I'm have no doubt that Sophia and Cindy will continue this momentum next year. So make sure you get your Tech Show tickets. I think they really set a new bar for ourselves.
Yeah.
What are we talking about today, Conrad?
All right. We have, as always, an exciting program. Usually, we're going to start with the news. We've got some news items to cover. And then what you've all been waiting for, what you're all watching on a second screen while you're pretending to work, March Madness. We are doing Legal Marketing Madness, the Sweet 16 marketing tactics head-to-head matchup, ending with the champion as adjudicated by yourself and myself, your good hosts, Conrad and Gyi.
Marketing bracketology, baby.
Wow. Well done. Like it.
Lockwood, hit it.
Welcome to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing, teaching you how to promote, market, and make fat stacks for your legal practice. Here on Legal Talk Network.
Welcome to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. Conrad and I are fresh off of the trip to Chicago at Tech Show and are ready for some LHLM action. But first, let's hit that news. Breaking: ChatGPT 4 launched yesterday. Conrad, have you had a chance to play with version 4?
Yeah, much fanfare. The thing that I think is the most salient point out of this is ChatGPT 4 doing better than most LSAT takers and other standardized tests for that matter, typically coming in at a 90% in taking standardized tests. So
and the other thing too, just to contextualize this, 4 months ago when 3 came out, I think it was like 4 months ago, it's kind of middling in passing some of these tests. It passed,
Mildly.
but like barely.
yeah.
And then in 4 months, it's become the top 10%. And
Yeah.
so, folks, get on this. It's not going the opposite direction. It's only getting better at what it does. So check it out. Well, I'm sure we'll have more about this. And the question is, what number of ChatGPT do we no longer have to do Lunch Hour Legal Marketing?
Wow.
It's done for us. Well,
Interesting. We
We'll
could
think
have
about it.
re-recorded our intro with ChatGPT 4 and see if it was an improvement from the last one that was frankly pretty banal.
More breaking news. Well, it won't be breaking by the time you hear this, but breaking as of right now, the March Google Core Algo update is rolling out. So by the time you're hearing this, my hunch is it'll just be finishing up. So if you're listening to this and watching your rankings drop, you'll know why, because you heard it here. Probably not first, but at least you heard it here again. TikTok
Honor.
ban. What's going on with TikTok? Can we use TikTok?
Well, so the ties to China are problematic. Trump tried to ban it, and there was a big push against that, counter push against that. But it's very much a conversation. And with this, it's an interesting collision of international politics and legal and kind of cutting edge digital legal marketing. Be fascinating to see what comes out of TikTok. I'm watching this fairly closely because I do see it as a bit of a vanguard of aggressive marketers. And I don't know where we're going to go with TikTok.
And finally, Conrad, you had the opportunity to be not a co-host, but a guest on another excellent legal podcast. Not, of course, as good as Lunch Hour Legal Marketing, but one of the top podcasts, the Crisp Game Changing Attorney podcast. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, it was great. I went down and hung out at the Crisp offices and spent an hour talking with Michael. And here's my feedback as a guest as opposed to a host of the podcast. One of the things that I struggled with, and you and I don't know if you work with this, but when you spend a lot of time working with multiple cameras, multiple mics, etc., you learn to do things like look towards the camera or something. And what I've learned is so psychosomatic. My performance and my comfort level changed when I ignored the camera and this is going to start to sound very bro-y, but when I just made eye contact with Michael, the whole feel of the podcast changed. So if you are ever a podcast guest, I would encourage you to throw away your notes, ignore the cameras, and work on eye contact. Even if you're running this over Zoom, this is why I have you right here, Gyi, in front of me, as opposed to off to the side, right? So eye contact.
I've received. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
I regularly receive feedback that I'm looking at all sorts of other stuff while I'm doing these podcasts. So that's a good note for me. And make sure to check out Conrad's episode. We'll make sure it's in the show notes on Game Changing Attorney.
Awesome.
Let's take a quick break.
So for all of you who are sitting, listening to the podcast, pretending to work, and also on your third monitor watching March Madness, which I'm probably guilty of as you are listening to this, as I'm assuming Gyi is. Although, you know what? Michigan's not in it.
Michigan's not in it. I'll be watching the NIT.
I thought my basketball bracket was already broken. I thought there was an error. I couldn't believe it. Anyway.
It's actually, it's beneficial when Michigan's not in it because then you don't have to actually be a homer and pick them to go way further than they're actually going to go.
Yeah, well, I always do that. I bet with my heart, not with my mind. And now I can't even bet with my heart. So, okay, we have Sweet 16. We have 16 finalists in Legal March Madness bracketology. These are all marketing tactics, and we're going to go head-to-head competition until we crown the winner, starting with the number one seed, SEO, coming in with a Cinderella story of TikTok. Gyi, argue with me over who should move on, SEO or TikTok. You are picking a marketing channel.
Yeah, and I think that's important to frame for listeners because they're gonna be like, well, how can these people pick between one of these two? So we're gonna make our cases, but ultimately it's head-to-head matchup. Got to pick one. Which one are you picking? I'm picking SEO. I mean, search has intent. I know some people are using TikTok as search engines. I know folks are over there watching lawyers dance their tails off to great success. But you talk about intent. Intent is what changes the game. You're in front of your target audience. If you're doing it right, you're in front of your target audience at the time that they're looking for information. And if you can create a page that motivates them to contact and hire you and demonstrate that you're the expert, you can't beat SEO.
SEO comes through with an easy win. Google the Mike Krzyzewski of legal marketing madness. SEO moves on. TikTok doesn't even.
I thought you were going to fight me on that one. I thought it was going to be your big upset.
Absolutely not, because I'm working on hey, if I'm growing my law firm, am I in on TikTok? There is no upset. SEO, hands down, no question. All right, game 2. We have Yelp coming in against email. Email marketing versus Yelp. Gyi, what's the game look like?
Well, we've got tried and true email. And again, I think you got to qualify here. What are we talking about? We're talking about email newsletters. We're talking about nurture campaigns. We're talking about just emailing people in your professional network. And then we've got Yelp. It's got a long track record of history with the internet, does pretty well in Google results. I'm going with an upset special here, and I'm picking email to take down Yelp.
Email to take down Yelp. Interestingly, Yelp plays very well when they're playing at home in California. However, this is a nationwide competition. This event is actually being held in Cincinnati. Yelp gets trounced by email because outside of their main market, they are mostly forgotten, especially in the legal marketing sphere. Email, big win over Yelp. All right, now a surprising head-to-head matchup. We have coming in at number 5, And I believe their competitor, Google Ads, has not done well recently because of concerns around cost effectiveness. So Google Ads, a long-time repeat presence in the legal March Madness, but really dropping in where they have historically been. Gyi, Referrals coming up against Google Ads. Who do you got?
I'm taking Referrals. I think this is an interesting one, especially since it's a 5-12 matchup, because I'm thinking like this is like two traditional stalwarts that are kind of middle range seeds now. 5-12 is usually an opportunity for an upset, but Referrals are just, Referrals is Duke, right? They might have a new coach, maybe they're not.
I already used the Mike Krzyzewski reference. You got to come up with.
Well, that's the only one we have. Okay, they're Kentucky, because Kentucky I think actually is a 5 seed, right? So
there you go.
They're Kentucky, the Wildcats, Referrals. They come to the dance every single year. Maybe people are shiny object syndrome, but I don't know how you can't take Referrals in this matchup.
Okay. 100% agree on Referrals. So we have just kicked out. This is a surprising fall from grace for Google Ads, which has always made it to the Final Four since it's been in the game. But Referrals coming out on top. And by the way, Referrals have been in this game for a much longer time. They've been playing ball for a much longer time than Google Ads. Google Ads really was a major player, but the concerns across the board about the cost of Google Ads has kicked them out of the Elite Eight.
They picked a bad draw, though, too. I mean, they had a bad draw going up against Referrals in the Sweet 16.
That's a fair point. These are two heavy hitters with long-standing programs. All right. Next game. All right, we've got another legacy player, Legal Directories, which goes all the way back to printed directories of lawyers, coming up in against Facebook. Facebook in at number 10, Legal Directories at number 7. Gyi, Legal Directories versus Facebook.
Super duper upset special, baby! We got Facebook at the 10 seed coming in to Legal Directories home court and taking them out in the Sweet 16. I love it. That's why we love March Madness. But you just can't deny Facebook with the brand positioning, staying top of mind awareness, affinity. We talk a lot about the private Facebook groups, a lot of lawyer-to-lawyer referrals going on. I'm taking Facebook over Legal Directories all day, baby.
Facebook, baby. All right. So the concern that people have had with Facebook is that it's aging out. It is no longer relevant to a major portion of the population. So the older team still staying in the game. Facebook over Legal Directories, which have been struggling for years now, and it's not looking better for them. It looks like they are not going to go into the Elite Eight. Facebook, baby. All right. Next match. This is a good one. New player. Surprise Cinderella story. We have Instagram coming up against LinkedIn. Instagram versus LinkedIn. Gyi, tell me about the matchup.
This is a tough matchup. Could go either way. I think we come down to a buzzer beater final shot on this one. Push comes to shove, though. I'm taking the boys in blue at LinkedIn because they've got business intent. People are there to talk about networking and professional relationships, and people are looking for social proof on LinkedIn, whereas might not be the case with Instagram. So close one, tough call. I think LinkedIn squeezes it out.
LinkedIn by 2 points, mainly due to their superior targeting opportunities.
Great targeting opportunities. Amazing targeting. Great point.
All right. We've got 3 games left. Coming in, number 3, ranking at number 6, Offline versus, again, a newcomer to the dance, the big dance, local service ads. How are you putting Offline up against local service ads, Gyi?
So we got a 6-11 matchup here. Offline advertising being a 6. They're in the dance every year. Radio, TV. Maybe you could talk some of their new players with over the top. But at the end of the day, LSAs have intent. I'm still taking LSAs. You're not going to do the brand building, the long-term play with LSAs. But if you can get those ads to spend, if their three-point shooters can hit their threes, you're going to see that they're going to pull ahead because, again, intent, top of the fold, reviews, it's the new ad product from Google. I think that they're going to shine.
All right, LSA's squeaks a win. It is a surprise story with the LSA's knocking off offline. And the reason for this, really, if they can get in the game, they usually go far. But if they can't, they frequently don't make the tournament. It is hard to get them to show up. But when they do show up, boy, do they show up big. So LSA's over offline, our first upset. All right, coming in at number 4, Local Search up against surprisingly poorly ranked Intake at 13. Local Search versus Intake 4 versus 13.
We've had 3 upsets. 3 upsets, by the way, so far.
Oh, we have had 3 upsets.
But who cares? This is fun.
All right, who cares? The good thing is we have production who can correct my mistake there.
This one's a great matchup. Local Search at a 4 seed versus Intake at a 13. Now, I don't know who seeded these teams, Conrad, but how does Intake come? They must have had a tough regular season.
No, this is easy. This is why Intake was coming in so poorly. So frequently overlooked. A great program that absolutely gets overlooked. Most of you don't ever think about Intake, and that's why it's coming in. It is I agree, it is unfairly poorly seeded, but it is widely overlooked as a player in this game.
Well, this is an easy upset for me. You know, maybe this is like a smaller conference who's been undefeated throughout the season playing against Local Search, who Local Search is solid, strong, right? They've got intent. They've got all the things we talked about with LSAs, except you don't have to actually pay Google for them. You know, I'm a huge fan of Local Search, so this one kind of hurts to see them fall in the Sweet 16 level. But really, folks, Intake might be my favorite to take the prize this season. We'll see how things shake out.
So the key with the Local Search versus Intake matchup, don't forget, 2 of Local Search's best 3 players were kicked out of the tournament for actually being fake players. So Local Search loses because of the fake players on their roster. Intake over Local Search.
Really good point.
Last matchup, we have hanging on by a thread, frequently in the dance, but really it's been a while since they've been here. We have Bing coming in at number 15 versus number 2, a surprisingly strong number 2, Local Events. Local Events versus Bing, a old school program that most people used to swear by, but surprisingly showing up at number 2. Bing versus Local Events, Gyi.
This is an exciting matchup. It's a 2 versus a 15. Historically, I think folks would think easy path to victory for Local Events. But Bing's got the super hotness with their star shooter, ChatGPT, and OpenAI integration. And, you know, they're getting a lot of the press, stealing Google's market share and all this stuff. But I got to tell you, and I'm reminded of our tech show talk, which hopefully we're going to do, I think, in maybe an episode or 2, we're going to start talking about that. But so many of the really strong players in the league are on this Local Events team. I mean, the getting out into the local community, local schools, local journalists, you know, whether there's a, you know, if you're in a community that does a state fair or rallies around some of these local events, this is the place to be seen. And these are blue chip players. They're reliable. Foundation for any great program. I'm taking Local Events to win this one.
All right. Unfortunately, you were incorrect. You made your first poor choice. Bing beats Local Events because unfortunately with Local Events, most lawyers are just slapping logos and doing nothing with the actual local events. Most lawyers, you can just buy that logo on the back of the turkey trot and you do nothing with the turkey trot. And so the Local Events came in with a strong game, but executed extremely poorly. Bing, however, being very efficient, very cost-effective with the few players that they do have, able to sink those shots. So Bing pulls it out over Local Events, mainly because Local Events had a really bad game, because not coached well, not really, really poor execution.
Bing has intent, baby!
And after our halftime intermission session, we've got the Elite 8, Final 4, and we will crown a winner in the finals.
As we periodically do for Lunch Hour Legal Marketing fans, we'd like to highlight some very kind words from Tim Semmelroth a friend of ours that we got to see at ABA Techshow. Now, I'm going to paraphrase for Tim because I got to make it a little bit more exciting, and I want Tim to have plausible deniability. But as we saw Tim in person in Chicago, Tim said, "Talking to you with my clothes on is new for me." Conrad?
All good. We need photo evidence. I'm not sure where you want me to go with that.
Now, in fairness, we record with only our tops on, so
wow,
who knows?
This is the new
Tim,
explicit version of the podcast.
Tim, regardless of how you are dressed, thank you so much for listening. It was great to see you, and to all of the other listeners, including Tim, because I don't know if Tim's actually left an Apple review. He's probably not going to listen anymore now that we've, I don't even know what we've done to poor Tim. But in any event, we've got 29 ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts right now, and we would like to issue our listeners a challenge. Can we get up to 50? Go give us a review, write something nice. It really helps us. It helps people like you find the show. And we love hearing what you like, what you don't like, and generally we just like to hear from you. So put down your phone or pick up your phone, whatever your device of choice is.
Unless you're in the shower like Tim.
Go leave us a review on Apple. I guess Apple's where we want you to review, so please do. And of course, you can always rate us on Spotify also, or hit us up at the hashtag LHLM. And to those others that have reached out on the hashtag, thank you so much. We really do appreciate it, and we look forward to hearing from you.
And we're back with the Elite Eight. Okay, Elite Eight. Game 1, we have Stalwart SEO coming against Cinderella Story Email. Now, these are two programs, Gyi, one of which is hanging on by a thread from a budget perspective. The other puts more money into its program than any others. Who comes out on top here, Gyi?
I'm taking email. If you twist my arm, and you take an inclusive look at all the things that you can do with email in terms of staying in touch with former clients, networking, referral sources, nurture campaigns, I think email, that's the core. I mean, I think a good practice, good program is founded off of good use of email. It's tough because you know how we feel about SEO. Take an email on this one.
Email coming through strong, a surprise upset to SEO due to the flexibility and the many different tactics from which you can deploy email. For example, uploading your list, feeding those lists back into Google Ads to make sure that Google knows not just when you're getting those clicks, but that you're actually getting the conversions. There is so much more that email can do. Your email database, a huge asset. Email comes up with a huge upset over perennial favorite SEO because of the ubiquity with which you can deploy your email lists. Wow.
Custom audiences from downtown.
Hits a 3. All right. Game 2 of the Elite Eight. We have Referrals coming up against Facebook. Referrals versus Facebook, Gyi. Who comes out?
This is a tough one. This is another one too. In some ways, these programs share some similar characteristics, right? Because Facebook can be a great place to get lawyer-to-lawyer referrals or other types of referrals, and a lot of consumers are actually going to Facebook to seek referrals. But if you twisted my arm and said, "Hey, look, it's referrals or Facebook," I'm taking referrals. They might not be as reliable. They might be a little more streaky depending on if your referral sources have referrals to send you. But at the end of the day, I think a strong program is really built around building a reputation and relationships to generate those referrals. So I'm taking referrals over Facebook.
Facebook falls on its face against referrals due primarily to the absolutely shitty interface that require expensive coaches and consultants to navigate. A team that has so much promise and yet is such a disaster to work with. Keep it simple, baby. They lose. Referrals trounces Facebook in game 2.
Yeah, and you can't even get rid of spam reviews on your Facebook page. I mean, come on.
Come on, Facebook.
This is madness.
It is madness. All right, we've got the double L matchup for the next game. LinkedIn versus local service ads. Gyi, LinkedIn versus local service ads. Who comes out on top?
Man, you tell me what you think on this one. This is a tough one. I don't know. I'm gonna have to reflect on it. What do you got?
So at the game, what we found is that local service ads didn't show up. No one knows why. They missed the bus. They weren't there. They were there yesterday. They didn't even make it into the game. We've sent emails out. We've called the people who know people. No one figures out why local service ads didn't show up, but they're gone. They were so strong yesterday. They failed today because they just didn't show up. LinkedIn over LSAs.
It's probably those fake players.
No, that was the local search players, man.
Oh, well, it applies to local. So, actually, another breaking news item: you can actually report for the first time fake reviews on the local services ad platform now. So as well. So if you see competitors who've got fake reviews on LSAs, pick up the phone or the mouse to contact Google.
Wow, Gyi recommends reporting them to the NCAA for recruiting infractions.
That's
wow,
right.
are we taking these metaphors or buzzwords too far?
Taking a lot of liberty, a lot of liberties here.
A lot of liberty. I can't wait to hear from the NCAA about please do not use our trademarks in your next blog, in your next podcast. All right, last game of the Elite Eight. We have Intake up against old stalwart and trying to stay relevant, Bing. Is Bing still relevant, or does Intake take the day?
This is an easy one for me. Again, intake is just so important. If intake goes down, it's like, why are we even bothering to play the game anymore? All of these other teams just pale in comparison to the value of the solid intake team.
Intake coming on strong. Bing just cannot compete. Just can't stay with intake. Getting intake right means everything else works better. And unfortunately, Bing is just contributing such a small portion and frequently a negligible, a zero portion of business to law firms that it is becoming increasingly irrelevant. I suspect we will not see their program last and show up again next year. All right. Final four.
Down to the final four. Now it gets interesting, folks.
Now it gets interesting. We have remaining a 14 seed email up against 5 seed referrals, LinkedIn an 8 seed, and Intake a 13. We've got upsets all over the place. Mathematically, almost impossible. Will never happen, but that's what you get when you listen to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. Okay, final four. Game one. Mr. Sakalakis, email versus number 5, referrals. Who takes the day?
Again, I can't get past referrals. Referrals come in many different forms. They're the cornerstone. They always have been. We've known the importance of referrals. They might not be the most showy of the teams. They might not be the most shiny, but when you've got a nice team of referrals coming in, they're just so hard to beat. Reputation and relationships all day. I'm taking referrals into the final.
And referrals game has been strengthened dramatically with the widespread deployment of sophisticated intake management software. So referrals, although it is an oldie, is really polishing their game with new technology that is now extremely widespread. So which has given referrals the edge over email. Referrals hands down over email. Next game, LinkedIn over intake. This game went into overtime. Gyi, what happened in overtime?
So it was close, went back and forth. LinkedIn, social proof, short video content, top of mind awareness, brand affinity. But at the end of the day, all of those leads that came in through LinkedIn, they just don't matter when intake shows up. Because intake is the team that takes you from leads to fees.
Leads to fees. That sounds like we should trademark that for Team Intake. Intake takes the day, beats referrals. Interestingly, in our finals, we have 2 non-digital players. Really don't rely heavily. on technology. It is a surprise in this tournament.
Well, we say that, but let's make a note here. Referrals happen online. Referrals happen via email. Referrals happen on social media. Intake. Yes, you could do it with a pen and paper, but you can also do it with forms and CRM solutions and virtual receptionists. So they're more conceptual. And like I said when we laid this out, we felt like we were kind of cheating with these two in particular. But nonetheless, eventually in the tournament, the cream rises to the top, and now we've got a tough finals matchup. Conrad, what are you taking, referrals or intake?
Referrals over intake. Interestingly, during the game, what we found increasingly is that when the referral game is strong, nothing else matters. Intake doesn't matter because referrals can just outperform intake over and over again. Intake can be the crux when everything's going wrong, but if referrals are playing a strong game, hitting the threes over and over again, passing, it's a team effort. Referrals has a deep bench, right? They don't have 5 players on the field. They've got a bench of 150 different people contributing to that game, and referrals won hands down because intake didn't matter when referrals were strong.
That's right. I mean, the one thing we've kind of joked about in the past, but like the one context that people might actually leave you a voice message or not be on to the next lawyer after a search is with a strong referral, because you've got the qualified referral. It's from a trusted source. They're going to give you some time. They're going to give you the benefit of the doubt to get back to them. And because you're pre-vetted by the referral, folks are they're seeking you out. You're the attorney they're looking for, and so that wins the day. Even if you screw up the intake process, you're still going to get the benefit of the doubt.
All right. So with that, if we have not lost you due to our overuse of basketball metaphors and puns, thank you for listening to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. We will be back. We did a great job of only mentioning Michigan once. We will be back and see you soon. Thank you so much for joining us. Legal March Madness out.
Thank you for listening to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. If you'd like more information about what you heard today, please visit LegalTalkNetwork.com. Subscribe via Apple Podcasts and RSS. Follow Legal Talk Network on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram.